Okay, the question is, can I explain how to pass and be passed during a mountain bike race on a trail? So I will preface this by saying a lot of these are kind of unwritten rules. There may be races or series that have specific rules, kind of race to race, but ultimately I think it falls to racers to kind of police this. Um, and these kind of larger unwritten rules are kind of across the board. I'll add, I suspect this is something that people get a little bit dogmatic about, so we'll see what kind of pushback I get. Um, First, I think it differs on the length of the event. Like a short XC race versus a long endurance race, it's going to be a little bit different. People will fight harder for every second and placement in an XC race versus an endurance race when you're kind of settling into an all-day pace. And, a lot of times the racing doesn't occur until much later in the day. And so you kind of have all day to really let people by. Hopefully they're letting you by. It's much more chill pace than like a more aggressive XC race. And it's also going to differ based on the category of racing. So there's a lot more aggressive passing in a pro race than in an amateur race. Although, let me back up. There should be more aggressive passing in a pro race, but I think there's certainly some amateur races that could probably probably they could probably stand to be a little bit less aggressive with the passing, but be that as it may. I always feel like if you are on a race course with multiple categories and you're being passed by someone not in your category, you really need to get out of the way as soon as you safely can. And that means really soon. You can tell if it's a rider in another category. For example, as a woman, I know if I'm coming up to a man and I yell out, "Hey, when you get a chance, can I come by?" He should know I'm not in his category, and that should, he should try to move over for me as soon as possible. And same, if I'm in a race and a dude is coming up behind me, I hear it's a man's voice, I'm going to do my best to yield as soon as I safely can. Now, it's also, pros and more experienced riders tend to do this much more smoothly because they're more experienced riders. So you kind of give a little bit of grace to newer, less experienced riders. Even though they may make you wait, it's important to recognize that they are probably a little bit more nervous about pulling off the course, about putting a foot down, about having to stop, all of these things. So, you try to be as understanding as you can, despite the fact that you might be feeling extremely impatient in those moments. I had a coach years ago who told me in an endurance race to just ride the pink puffy cloud. This is Coach Linda Wallenfels, and her description of the pink puffy cloud was just be as absolutely nice and kind to everyone on the race course that you could be, because that comes back. So yes, it's a race. Yes, it's aggressive, but the nicer that you are to everyone, the more that you can just give an extra moment to wait for someone to pull over for you or whatever it is. Just ride that puffy cloud because it will come back. If you're the race leader, you can always call out race leader when you get a chance, can I pass? And that should, in theory, if it's someone who is paying attention and is being nice, they should make a little bit of an extra effort to get out of your way if you're the race leader. Sometimes you can yell out, "Hey, second place, third place," whatever you want. You can just see. I mean, look, if people, I always feel like call it out and see what happens. Now, as we get into racing within your own category, again, like I take a different approach than, for example, NICA. I think the rules in NICA are call it out and the rider has to yield to let you by, which to me is kind of insane because it's a race. And if we are in the same category, and I make that very clear distinction, if we're in the same category, you need to wait until there is a widening on the course where you can safely make a pass. And that means you're going to have to expend a little bit of an effort. You're going to need to have pre-ridden the course to know where there's passing opportunities, and you're going to need to time a little bit of an effort to get by me. I'm not going to block anyone, but I will... it's a race. And so I'm not going to yield when someone calls it out behind me. But like I said, I will sometimes call in my own category. I might call it out just to see if I'm coming up on someone and I say, hey, can I get by? And they pull over. Well, great. But I certainly don't expect them to, and I'm certainly not going to either. So, it's wishy-washy. It's not clear. But I will say I don't think it's aggressive or inappropriate to kind of make somebody work for a pass, because we are racing. Again, this is all within the constraints of being safe, not blocking, never blocking. But, we're racing. And so that means you need to be a little bit strategic when you're racing. And I think that strategy and timing of passing and kind of figuring out where your strengths are relative to another racer's, that is a really fun strategy aspect of it. Look, there's always going to be jerks. Certainly in multi-category races, if you go to the finish line, you will always hear people complaining about this. It's just part of the sport. But it is something that we deal with. So in summary, I would say within your own category, you need to be a little bit strategic. And it's kind of up to you whether you are going to pull over for racers or not, if they are in your category. Now, look, sometimes it gets really uncomfortable when somebody is riding right on your butt, and you might prefer to let them by. And if you do, and you time it properly, you might get on somebody's wheel, and now maybe you following them, now you're both elevated. Or you let somebody by, and that person maybe is faster on a certain part of the course, but then you form a little bit of an alliance and they let you lead where you are faster. And now you are both elevated because you're kind of working together and swapping positions in this kind of strategic way. So, that is an aspect that comes into play as well. So it's not clear, but hopefully that gives you some guidelines. Now, I know that you are getting ready for True Grit. And so in the context of that, I would say, the wave starts will help to spread things out. Cove Wash is very fast. It's difficult to pass in there. It's not super safe to pass. And so I do think it's worth burning a match or two on the climb prior to that, so you can get in good position in Cove Wash. And then, again, it's tight and fast. And so you kind of just need to go at a speed that is comfortable for you. And then, that next climb is, well, I don't know. I don't actually know what the current course is, but when I did it, the climb, the subsequent climb was wide enough that there's opportunities to pass and things start to spread out. And then there is some back and forth on Zen, just given the technical nature of that trail. But beyond that, things are really kind of spread out enough. And you'll notice that when people get more fatigued, they tend to be much more gracious with passing. And so I would say after that point, if you need to make a pass and you ask to do it, you will probably get somebody to pull over.